Okay. Hi all, I welcome you to Microsoft Azure Pakistan Community April 2023 meetup. And before I start, there are some housekeeping rules that I would like to share. We plan to meet up online at least once a month on Saturdays, and the online meetings are organized using Microsoft Teams. And the online meeting would be recorded, and later the recording would be uploaded to Microsoft Azure Pakistan Community YouTube channel. And I will request you all to please mute yourself during the meeting. And the meetup time would be around 1 hour to 1 hour and 30 minutes, depending upon the time needed by the respective speaker. And there would be 10-15 minutes for quiz session in the end. So you should preferably write your questions in the chat window. Microsoft Azure Pakistan community is a part of Microsoft Azure Tech Group, so we follow the code of conduct that is led by the community of Microsoft Azure Tech Groups. And our code of conduct is that you should be friendly and welcoming, be patient, be thoughtful in how you communicate in person and online, be respectful and inclusive, be open and curious, and reach out to the organizers if you need anything. Today we are having an honor of having Arindam Mitra who will be telling us about how to automate pull requests and associate work items using Azure DevOps. And pull request automation is very critical step in the DevOps operation. A pull request streamlines communication, edits, and debugging from several repositories that receive updates from the main repository. The manual pull request process is quite an intensive one. Sending multiple pull requests throughout a workflow can add a lot of time, and in the software industry, time is very critical. So developers can automate pull requests using CI/CD pipelines. In today's session, Arindam Mitra will demonstrate how to automate pull requests and associate work items using Azure DevOps. This session is delivered by Arindam, and he is a Azure Cloud Solution and DevOps architect. He is a technical speaker focused on cloud adoption, architecture, automation, build and run in Azure. He is currently based in Zurich, Switzerland, and recently Arindam Mitra has been awarded as Microsoft MVP. So thank you very much, Arindam. This is the second time you are joining our forum, and it is really a pleasure to have you on board. So you can start with going through your session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Uzair. It's always very nice to come back and get a chance again time to time. This also gives me a privilege to meet you and the audiences because, as I wrote, my MVP also, when I became my MVP, it was also a contribution from Microsoft Azure Pakistan community because I spoke to them. You gave me an opportunity. I think, we spoke last time. I spoke on your forum in August last year. So it's again, thank you so much, Uzair. I will share my screen now. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So now this is the one. Let me close all this. So yeah, so this is my GitHub repository, as Uzair has already introduced me, but I'll just introduce myself a little bit. My name is Arindam Mitra, and I am based out of Switzerland. And I am been recently awarded as a Microsoft MVP in developer technologies. I have always been investing my time more and more into automation, DevOps, Terraform, PowerShell, ACCLI, Azure DevOps, CI/CD, GitHub Actions, and so on and so forth. So I try to automate as much thing as possible, or if not possible, to the closest of all the automation. I'm basically working in Axpo Solutions as Azure Cloud Solutions and DevOps architect, and I blog, I speak wherever possible, wherever I get chance. I don't have any restrictions, but I like to talk about Azure, any topic. And I am basically responsible in my company. I'm basically responsible for all the cloud adoption, architecture, automation, build, and run. So this is the whole phase which we go through when we are doing a project in Azure. So this is my GitHub repository. As you can see, I've put my links to my blog, LinkedIn, Twitter, Sessionize, GitHub, everything. And you can also find all the stats here, that how many blogs I have published, what are my blog series, how many speaker sessions I have done, how many communities I have spoken to, pull requests, contributing to Microsoft issues, providing them feedback. So these are all the stats I may mention out here. This is like an overall stat that in past, what I have spoken about Azure and on which platform I have spoken. So you can find all those links, and these links points to all the recordings of my presentation. These are all the pull requests, issues, and everything which I've been time to time doing for Microsoft. Cool. So this is all about it. A little bit about my blog before I go. So this is my blog site, where I do it in dev.to, and this is the list of the blogs which I published. Here at the last, I have a small page which is named like my contribution, and in my contribution, you can see that what are my upcoming public speaking coming up, and where I have spoken this year, what blogs I have posted this year, and then for the same thing, subsequently what I did in year 2022, and so on and so forth. So you can always find this here. I am here in my LinkedIn, so this is my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect. Feel free to ask any questions if you have. I am also on Twitter, so this is my Twitter account where I normally tweet mostly about my sessions, my blogs, and whatever I do technically. I typically tweet about that. This is my Sessionize profile. From there, I normally apply for speaker sessions. In this case, Azure Pakistan community. I also did this well. Though I know Uzair, but still it's good to that. I applied from them. He's kind enough to accept that. And coming back to this, I'll close this all because it might be somebody popping up or something. So I'll close all this so that it's easy for everybody. And then my today's topic is automate pull requests and associate work items using Azure DevOps. As I said, I try to automate everything, whatever is possible. So this is something, it came up to a use case that, every time, I am making any changes, I'm doing infrastructure as a code. And then when I'm doing it, definitely I'm not directly doing it in my main branch, but I'm creating a feature branch or a dev branch. I'm doing my changes out there. And then, I'm running my pipeline first from the dev branch to see that if everything goes fine. If everything goes fine, then what I do is I first run everything from my dev pipeline, it gets deployed, and then the next step is like I raise a pull request to main branch, and then somebody I approve myself, or maybe my line manager is approving, depending upon your organization hierarchy. And then the pull request is like getting merged from dev to main. And once it is merged, the next logical step is that we don't keep any branch left there, because the code is tested, it has been deployed, and now the merge part is there. So we do a merge, and when we're doing a squash commit. So, when we are doing the squash commit, it means that I am not carrying all the history or the commits which I have done in my dev branch, because I don't need those, because I know that my source of truth, the dev branch, is perfect, and I just need to merge it into my main branch, which becomes, again, my source of truth once I delete the dev branch. So that is how, this is the way we always do. It's not I am doing, but it's been a practice worldwide, anybody who is doing the development. And this is where I thought that, okay, why can we create an automation? So, I was thinking out loud that, can I create some kind of an automation like this? Is it possible? I wasn't even sure that if it's possible. So what I did is I created a small automation, like a CI/CD automation, and it's part Terraform and it's part DevOps CLI. So it's a unique, I have divided it into stages, which I will show you to my blog, and then we can talk about it. So my build and deploy stage is Terraform, and my creating the work item, raising the PR, merging the PR, deleting the dev branch, and all kinds of things. This I'm doing over DevOps CLI. So the DevOps command line CLI, and that is a separate stage. So basically, my pipeline has three stages. One is build, another is deploy, and the third stage is PR, pull request. So let's look into the blog a little bit. So this is my blog where I have written down, that, this, what my blog is all about. I also got a chance to speak about this in Switzerland. There's a Bern user community, and they invited me for an in-person speaker session where I did a little bit about the session, about the meetup and all that I met there. This is my objective. So what is the objective of the automation? The objective of the automation is that, yes, of course, the most important part is that it will only raise a PR if the pull request will only be raised or created, or the work item will only be created, and the work item will be associated to the PR when the PR is merged from dev to main, only when we are running the pipeline from any dev branch. So it can be a dev branch, ABC branch, feature branch. You can name the branch anything. There's nothing, because my code will fetch the name automatically. But it cannot be a main branch. If you are running the pipeline from the main branch, the stage will be skipped. They will not create a work item. They will never create a pull request. They will never associate the work item to the pull request, and the pull request will never get completed. That whole automating stage will never happen. So the primary condition is that you have to run the code from either a dev branch or a feature branch, you name it. So this is what is the objective and what we are doing. And then I have put together the requirement that, what all things you require. And this is my GitHub repo. So if you go to my GitHub repo, so this is my GitHub repo, and you see that the blog which I've posted, here, you can also find it as a README. So you can also see that it's a README. It's exactly identical. It's exactly the same. Meaning, whatever I'm writing in dev.to, even my documentation is version control. So whatever you see here, you will find it here. So you can read it from any place. You can read from a GitHub. You can read it from my dev.to blog site. Now coming to the code. So my code is, like I said, it's part Terraform, it's part DevOps CLI. So the part Terraform is very simple, that, this is my provider, that, what I'm doing, where I'm storing my state file, what all provider I'm using. And then, here I have the file where I'm simply creating a resource group, and I'm creating a user assigned manager identity. That's all. And this is the pipeline which I'm using. So let me explain the code, and then probably we can jump into running the code. So here you see that, I have not put any trigger. The trigger is none, which means that I'm running the pipeline manually. Then there is a variable sections out here. This is a variable section, which is like, feel free to change it, because this is the part only you have to change based on your environment, and nothing else in my pipeline, because the rest of the things, it's all using variables. So feel free to use it according to your own way of doing, or according to your environment. So this is the only part which you have to change, nothing else. Then we have this, like, I'm using the Microsoft hosted build agent, which is the Ubuntu. I'm using that. I think I'm using Ubuntu. Let me check and confirm it. Yes. So this is the one. Ubuntu latest. Okay. Then what I'm doing is, as I said, I have 3 stages. One stage is build. If I scroll down, let me increase the font for you guys. Let's make it big. So then I have the deploy stage, and finally I have the stage called pull request associated work item. This stage is DevOps CLI, but the rest 2 above stage is completely Terraform. Okay. Now let's go scroll up and talk about it. Now the first stage is build. And in the build stage, the first thing you notice is that, and I'm using the task and this big name, and then I'm appending called Terraform installer. Ideally, when you are doing this, you can only use Terraform installer, But in my case, why I had to specify this is because if you go here and if I go to my organization, okay, if I go to my organization settings and if I go to my extension, you see that I have two Terraform extensions, one by Microsoft, this one, selected. So this is the one which is by Microsoft. Okay. And then I have another one, Azure Pipelines for Terraform Task. This is by a developer called Charlie's Zip. And so I am basically using in some of my codes, I'm using his Terraform because it has other functionalities available. But if you are having more than one Terraform extension in your DevOps, you then have to be very, very specific that which one you want to use. That is why this is the big name. msdevlabs.custom, this is referring to the Microsoft Terraform extension and nothing else. That is why I had to mention. What happens if you don't mention this? This is what it happens. If I scroll down to my blog, scroll down, it's all the same, it is explained, it's the code, same code. Scroll down, down. Okay. Fast. Okay. Here, I have written down that why I'm using this. So in this one, I have specified the full name. This is because I have two Terraform extension, as I said. And if I'm not using this, and if I'm just mentioning Terraform installer at the rate 0, this is the error I'm getting. See the error on the screen? That is why I have to mention the full. So the bottom line out here is that if you have more than one Terraform extension in your DevOps organization, be very, very careful that you have to use the whole name, or you're referencing the name which the pipeline can understand that, okay, which is the provider of that extension, because he cannot identify that which one to use or which one to skip. So that is how. Then we are having the display name, providing the Terraform version. All these things are pretty much basic, nothing there. Then I'm initializing the Terraform. I'm just initializing Terraform. Then I'm validating the Terraform, and then I'm running the Terraform plan. So this is where I'm running the Terraform plan. So this plan is telling me, okay, one resource group and one user assigned managed entity is going to be deployed. Perfect. This gives me the plan. Then I have used a small code snippet, which basically I have named it as detect Terraform changes, which means that, in this whole Terraform plan, you will get like, in my case, it's just 2 resources, but in the real-time project, it might be like, 20 resources getting deployed or 30 resources getting deployed. This piece of code, if you put it, I'll show you, when I'm showing demo, it will just tell you the exact count. Okay, number of resources get added, 1, 2, 3, 10, 5, 15, 20. Or number of resources getting modified, what is the count? Or number of resources getting deleted, what is the count? It will just give you a count. So it's a very handy thing, that you get that, okay, from the Terraform plan you're getting that whole exhaustive list that, okay, these are the resources, it will be deployed. But I put one task in this particular stage that it will just give you on a high level that, okay, I'm getting like 5 resources are getting deployed or 10 resources getting deleted. So it gives me an idea, because when you are doing infrastructure as a code, you know that what you are deploying and what you are deleting or what you are modifying. So maybe this one helps you. And then probably in the next, as a next task, what I'm doing is then the Terraform plan is getting generated, and I'm just uploading. I'm actually basically copying the staging, the Terraform plan to the staging directory, the DevOps staging directory, and from that staging directory, I'm publishing as an artifact here. This completes my build stage. Now I'm coming to the deploy stage. The first thing about my deploy stage is very simple, that first thing is the build stage has to be successful. If it is not, it will skip. Then my source branch, this cannot be my main branch. It can be any branch, but it cannot be main branch. That is what I told you. This is the prereq of the part of the automation. Because, I mean, like when you're raising a pull request, it's very basic that, when you're raising a pull request, it's always like, the source and the destination branch has to be different. It cannot be main to main or dev to dev or feature to feature. It has to be something different. That is why I wrote that. The main branch is my ultimate source of truth. And so it cannot be my main branch. And then the final thing is that I have put a dependency matrix that if my Terraform build stage is not detecting any changes, which means nothing to add, nothing to delete, nothing to modify. In that stage also deploy will not execute, it will get skipped. So basically it has to have three conditions. One, my previous stage, build stage, that has to be successfully implemented. Then the second condition is from the branch where this pipeline is executing, it cannot be main branch. It can be any branch. And the third, this particular task which I am executing, this particular automation which I'm executing, it should detect some changes. If there is no changes, then it means that, there is nothing to deploy. If there is nothing to deploy, then why should I raise a PR? So you see that how it's a chain of things, which you have to think through, that why I'm doing this automation. And this is why I thought through that, okay, I have to have these things, if somebody like out of fun is running something, there's nothing, no change, and they still want to run the same pipeline. So of course the build will run and it will detect that, okay, there's nothing to do. There's no changes in the infrastructure. And then, the deploy will get skipped and then the PR will also get skipped. So this is why this condition is very important. Moving down, again, I am then putting a deployment task. You see that that's a deployment task. So you remember that in the build stage, I told you that, I am first copying, I'm generating the Terraform plan file. That Terraform plan file, I am basically copying it to the DevOps staging directory. And after I copy to the DevOps staging directory, I am basically publishing as an artifact. So the plan which I'm publishing in the DevOps artifact, that is the plan I'm downloading with this task, downloading from the artifacts. I downloaded, then since it's a different stage, I have to initialize Terraform init again. So I did a Terraform init. So this is like, installing the Terraform installer again and running the Terraform init again. But previously I ran Terraform plan, but this time I'm not going to run Terraform plan because I have already ran that Terraform plan in my build stage. I have generated that plan, and that plan indicates that it will deploy a resource group and a user assigned managed entity. So instead of running the Terraform plan again, I am basically reusing it by downloading the Terraform plan from the artifacts and then applying it in Terraform apply. That is how I'm doing it. I'm not duplicating things. I'm just reusing it. And this is how I'm applying it. And when Terraform plan applies it, it means that my resource group and user assigned managed entity inside that resource group gets created. Now, all this thing, the creation of the Azure resources is happening over my dev or my feature branch. Okay. Now the deployment part is complete because, my code is okay, it's fantastic, and now I have deployed my resources to Azure, everything is okay. Now, the dev branch is still there. The changes is not committed to the main branch. This is where my PR stage is coming. In my PR stage, what happens is, the first, again, I have put condition. What is the condition? The deploy stage has to be successful. So my previous stage is like, my deploy stage. So that has to be successful. And again, I've put the same condition that it cannot be the main branch. It can be any branch, but it cannot be main branch. Okay. And nowhere in my pipeline code, I have put hard-coded the name of the dev branch or feature branch. You can put anything. You can put Arindam, you can put Azure, put anything. You can put cloud, Google, anything, any random name. I don't care. It will automatically fetch the name from the code. And then what happens is I am running this, it's like I'm running the stage. And this stage, what I'm doing is, because this stage would be, I'm using, this is not a Terraform code, but this is like more of a DevOps CLI code. So the build and the deploy stage was Terraform, and this PR stage is DevOps CLI. So in order for DevOps CLI, the first prereq of running a DevOps CLI in a build agent is that it requires a PAT token. PAT, sorry. It's PAT is personal access token. So from where will I get the PAT? So I will generate the PAT and I will store it in the key vault. And in one of my tasks, what I will do is I will download that key as a key vault task. So you see that I have put together a secret filter called star, which means that it will download all the secrets. Alternatively, if you want to be too precise, you can always mention the name of the secret. For example, in my case, the secret name is called Pat. So if I write Pat here instead of star, star means all, this key vault task will only download the Pat token. Again, sorry, it's Pat, it's not Pat token because T stands for token. So here, just like I was doing, but you can always change that just for if you want to be too precise. But I'm downloading all the keys. I don't care because it's just a demo. But yeah, in production, you can always do this. And then I'm using the Azure CLI task where I'm saying that okay, let's install the DevOps CLI extension in my build agent. Then I am validating the DevOps CLI by running the help command of Azure DevOps CLI. Okay. Then I am doing the DevOps login, which is basically referring to my DevOps organization and which project I want to raise. Because DevOps organization, inside that you have multiple DevOps projects. So there has to be you have to reference the project name, because inside the project name you will have the repo, and inside that repo you are basically creating the dev or the feature branch. That is why I have to do the DevOps login for that particular DevOps organization and project. This is what I am doing. And then what I am doing is, in my last task as a part of the PR stage, is I am basically creating the pull request. I am creating a work item. I'm associating the work item to my pull request. My pull request is getting closed, which does the merging from my dev to main. And once the merging is over, then my dev branch or feature branch gets deleted. That is the order. So you see that first thing I'm doing is I am fetching the name of my source branch, which is my dev. Then I am using the random functionality to just to give a random name to the work item. Then I'm generating the work item in the DevOps pool. Okay. And then what I'm doing is I'm getting the work item ID. Once I'm getting the work item, I'm creating a PR, and then I'm associating that work item here. Then I'm taking the pull request ID. I'm fetching the pull request because this is creating the pull request, and after the pull request, once the pull request is associating the work item, then there is an ID for that pull request. That ID I am using to complete it as a part of the squash commit. And once the squash commit is done, basically I'm merging it from dev to main, and I'm doing a squash commit. I'm completing my PR, and then I'm deleting the source branch, which in this case is dev. And then I am getting the message merge success. So this is the whole thing, what I'm doing as a part of my code, and this is what I have tried to explain to you in my blog. Feel free to read it. I've tried to narrow down everything which is basically possible. So in the interest of time, I will now show the demo, and I will just, there are 3 use cases, but I will just do the most interesting use case that where I will create a dev branch. I will make some change. I will commit that change to the dev branch, and then I will run the pipeline, and that pipeline will do the magic and see that how it works. I'm very hopeful it should work. The code should work. If the code doesn't work, my apologies beforehand. So you never know. When you're running the code, it can be very, very finicky. Sometimes, I've faced those things in my past. That's why I'm making it clear. So I go to my DevOps organization. I go to my DevOps project here in cloud, and then I go to my repo, and I have this PR repo where I just created only this one. So you see that you have all this code. This is the pipeline. This is my main file. This is my resource file, and this is my key value pair about what resource getting created and variables. Okay. First step, what I do, I go here and I create a new branch, and I say, this dev branch I'm creating from the main branch. Okay. So this gets created. So now I am here. You see that I'm in dev branch and I have a main branch. The next step, I go here, new file, click on file, just say that test 500, create. What I will do, now you see that once I've committed, it has already asked me to create a pull request. This is the way normally we do it in a real-time world, but I'm not going to do it anything manually. My pipeline is going to do it. I will close this. So now I'm in my dev branch and I have created this test file, which means that I've made a change. Okay. Now what I'll do is I will go to this branches and I will show you that this is my main branch, this is my dev branch. And in my main branch, you see that you are like, one ahead of the main branch it is showing you. You see that in the pull request at the moment, if you see, there is nothing like, these are all my testing which I've done. There is nothing inactive and there is nothing incompleted at the moment. Now I go to the pipelines. Since I'm doing a lot of things, here, and that is why what I do whenever I create an automation and everything, in the pipeline section I create folders, because then it helps me categorize. So I will go down and see that I have a folder called PR items. Let me increase the font as well. So here you have PR work items. I click on this one, and then I will run the pipeline. Now you see that you get the branch. I will not run from main branch because otherwise the pipeline will not go through. So I will select the dev branch. Now I select. Before I go, then I normally have a practice of selecting the stages to run. To see, because as soon as you click, if there is any error on your pipeline, syntax-wise or indentation-wise, anything on your YAML pipeline, if there's any problem, you will see it here. They will never give you this unless and until everything is perfect. So here you see that you have build, deploy, and pull request. Now, Azure DevOps also gives you the flexibility that you can uncheck which stage you don't want to run. This is also possible, but in our case, every stage is coupled with another stage, so I have to run all the stages. But just remember this. And now I go back here. So I have dev branch, all the stages run, and now what I do is I go and run the code. And the build. So the build stage will run, then the deploy, and then the pull request. Let's see. So till the time it is running, I will pause. And Zaire, if you or any of the audiences who have joined, if they have any question, feel free to ask till the time the code is running.
Yeah, I don't find any questions in the chat window.
Okay. I hope I'm not going too fast, Zaire, is it?
No, that's fine. It's perfectly fine.
Perfect. So let's see. The first part is this one, the stage, build stage. You see that, you have all those things, as a plan. You see that what all resources are getting deployed. You know that, okay, a resource group is getting deployed, a user assigned managed entity is getting deployed. And you see that two added, zero change and zero destroy. Here, you see that my snippet is actually showing that total number of changes is 2. It is just on a high level basis because this is related to my pull request stage. If this is 0, then my PR stage will not run, my deploy stage will not run because it is dependent on this one. Now we see that we have 2 stages, but you see here that my deploy stage has not started. Why it has not started? Because it is waiting for approval. So I have like a clause that it has to wait for approval. How this is happening? Let's go back to the code and let's go back to the deploy stage. Scroll up, and this is my, not this one, but this is my deploy stage. In my deploy stage, so my deploy stage is starting from here, see, line 140. And in my deploy stage, what I am doing is basically I am running as a deployment job. You see this whole thing. So this deployment job. In my deployment job, you see that I have an environment, and this environment is taking the variable this one. If I take this variable here on the scroll up, you see that I have a variable name, this one, which has a value non-prod. So I will first, what I will do is I will run the code so that I don't waste any time. I will go to review. I will say, okay, I approve, all good, and the deploy will start. Let it run, but in meantime, I will show you. So you see that environment on the left-hand side. I click here, and then you see the non-prod environment. You see the non-prod environment here. You click on the 3 dots. You have this approval and checks, and you see that I have associated my name as approval. So that is how I am putting the approval. Like attaching to an environment, and that environment I'm attaching to a deployment job in one of the stages. So this is how I'm doing it. So now I'll go here because the stage is running. So you see that my Terraform apply stage is happening, and this is all getting applied. Okay, it got completed, and now the PR stage will start. Okay, so these two has been completed. Now let's wait for the PR stage to do. So the first thing what is happening is here that it is checking out, and it is saying that it is like dev2s, which is a main RAM. If I click on here, you see that all my secrets are getting downloaded, and one of the secrets is packed. Then it is installing now the DevOps CLI. It should happen anytime now. CLI is getting implemented. Then it is like validating the DevOps CLI by running the help command, as I explained to you. Got completed. Now it's doing the DevOps CLI login in my build agent. Otherwise, it cannot run the DevOps CLI command to create the work items, pull request, and all those things. And it got completed. Fantastic. Now let's see. In the create and complete pull request work item, whatever is a name, it's too big a name. Apologies for that. But in this first thing, I'm fetching the name of the source branch. You remember I gave a dev, it fetched me the dev. I have nothing hard-coded. Then I created a work item. So the PR name is hard-coded, but this number is coming randomly. You remember that random number which I'm generating. So I have specified that I need the number between 0 to 1000, and it gives me a random number every time. So PR hyphen is hard-coded, and this number is randomly generated. Then the work item which you created, it also has an ID. So I fetched the ID. Then I created a pull request and I created the pull request ID. I fetched the ID. And then finally what I did is I like merged from dev to main, and then I completed the work item. And once I completed the work item, I deleted the dev branch, merged it, and then deleted. This is how it happened. Okay. Now let's see it from the GUI side. First, I will refresh, and you see that AM test 100 is getting created, the resource group, and the user assigned managed entity. The second, I go to my storage account, and I see that whether or not my state file got created. So whenever I'm creating a state file, I always create a folder which is relevant to that state file. So I created a folder, PR, inside the Terraform container in the storage account, and then I have this state file. Now, if you click on the state file, if you click on edit, you can see that whole things that what got. So this is my resource group state file value. This is my managed entity, user assigned managed entity. Scroll. This is okay. So this is two things. Resource got deployed. State file got created. All good. Now I go here, and I will now first go here, and I will click on the pull request. No, first thing is, let me go here. There is no dev branch. It is all deleted because it's merged. Now the test 500 which created in the dev branch, it is now in the main branch. Okay. If I go to branches, there is no dev branch. It is gone because it's been merged. If I create on pull request, there is nothing in mine, nothing inactive, but if you go to completed, you see that test 500 has got added. If I add this one, you see that pull request from dev to main is completed. Okay. And this is like dev to main. So Arindam Mitra created the pull request, Arindam Mitra completed the pull request. And finally, if I go to the pipeline again, this was my work item, PR609. Okay, let's go to the boards. Let's go to this board, PR609. It got completed. See, completing pull request 37 and associating the work items. This got created. So this is what I wanted to demo you guys. This is all I have to show. Feel free to run the code on your side. This is again my repo. Let me now reduce the font a little bit. So this is my repo where you can find everything. It's all there. All the code is there. This is my blog again. Feel free to read it, comment. I mean, like if something is not understandable and something is missing, maybe I have not been too clear in my blog, just write me a message in LinkedIn or Twitter. So happy to make changes, but blog is here, the code is here. I will give all this details to Uzair so that he can publish in his YouTube channel with proper links and everything. And this is it. I mean, this is all I have to present. So I will stop sharing, Uzair, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Arindam. It was really informative and quite code intensive. Um, there is one thing that I would like to question. You are using Terraform over here. I mean, it's entirely up to the team to decide.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can also
Absolutely.
use Jenkins over here. It's not necessary that, but do you see any benefit of using Terraform over here?
So, so Azure DevOps is the platform which is helping you to to do the continuous integration and deployment. Continuous integration is like you're committing the code to Azure Git. And continuous deployment is that, the new code or the enhanced code with the new features, that is taken by your YAML pipeline and it is deployed. So this is a CI/CD part of Azure DevOps. Jenkins is actually doing the same thing. Circle CI is doing the same thing. Octopus Deploy is doing the same thing. GitHub Actions doing the same thing. These are CI/CD platforms. But I here use Terraform because, I normally in my projects, Terraform is the de facto infrastructure as a code which we are using. But there can be a lot of organizations that they are using Azure CLI, or they are using PowerShell, they are using Pulumi, they are using Biceps. Doesn't matter. The important fact is the last stage, the PR stage. That is the most important factor. I showed you the build and the deploy because, I'm using Terraform, so I have to deploy something and then I have to do the pull request. But the build and the deploy can be with any language. It can be a developer who is using C#. How does it matter? It all depends that, he's doing everything on his dev branch. He's once it is done, he will run and everything will happen. The PR and everything will create and deletion, everything will happen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Arindam, for a very informative session. And if you can send me in the chat window the links
Yes.
for your blog and to your
Yes. I will do right away so that you have everything handy. So this is my GitHub. I'm pasting it right now. This is my GitHub repo where you have the code, and this is the blog site.
Got it. I also got the blog. I will definitely include them in the description of the recording. Once again, Arindam, thank you very much for your time, and also thank you very much for bearing with the technical glitch that we were having in the beginning.
Happens.
I mean,
It happens. It always happens. Doesn't matter, but yeah.
Technology is really good as far as it is working, but if it starts to break, then things go off really bad.
I'm always, I'm always scared there whenever I'm running a code. That's why I said that, it's, you never know. Some version gets upgraded, and you need to tweak and everything. So it's not you, but it's also on my side. And Uzair, thank you very much for always being kind enough to invite me on your platform. It is a pleasure.
It's an honor to have you on our forum, and I hope you will again give us your precious time at some other point in time.
Absolutely, no doubt. Absolutely, Uzair.
So thank you so much, and have a very nice evening and a very nice weekend.
You too.
See you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.